Oh no, guys, what do? I have a decision to make. This sucks. Do I tap out for Lightning Angel, risking counter magic, removal, and making my mana leaks dead in the late game? Or do I pass, holding up my mana leaks, and the opponent won't play into them, and I passed up my window to be proactive, and I never turned the corner? Oh, I don't have any information about my opponent's hand. I knew I should have played Peek. They call this deck the solution? It's not the solution to anything. What do I do? Hello my friends, GigaChad here, and as you can see, there is no tension between permission and proactivity, quite the opposite. We're going to play a Lightning Bolt off the top of our deck, then a Cydia Brass, why not? Then another Mother of Runes? Sure, let's do it. Lightning Angel off the top? Wow, seems good to me, just like we drew it up. Can't really go wrong when you are seeing, what, 3, 4, 5 cards per turn? Who knows? The sky is the limit when you're proactive. Sorry for the slightly goofy intro, guys, but that was my way of demonstrating the difference between a deck like this one that plays almost all proactive spells, kind of a tap-out control deck, if you will, and the more commonly known The Solution, which plays a lot of the same cards in the same colors, but mixes in Factor Fiction and Mana Leak, sometimes other forms of permission, especially post-side, for more of a traditional control experience. But of course, as I demonstrated, there is a tension, especially in the early to mid-game, between holding up your permission and tapping out for a threat. And that can be really rewarding, it can be really skill-testing to navigate the correct decision points, especially without information about the opponent's hand, or even sometimes what exactly they're playing. But it can also be regarded as a strategic weakness, and this particular deck, which we're calling Star-Spangled Slaughter, seeks to totally do away with that weakness by playing tap-out control. Alright, so let's get into the deck tech, but first the nomenclature. So Star-Spangled Slaughter appears to be the most commonly accepted name. I did ask in the Premodern Discord and got a lot of funny responses. The Problem was a fantastic one. Patriot, Aggro, Miss America, Angelfire. I came up with the Resolution, Future Solution, Angel Sight, whatever you want to call it, and there are many other options as well, and really break it down for you, beginning with the land base, which kinda sucks if I'm honest, and not that it's poorly designed, quite the opposite. It's just difficult to have to play, number one, a 3-color deck that has a lot of really extreme color requirements, not least of which is the aforementioned Silver Knight, needing white on turn 2, no mean feat, and also having to play 24 lands with a grand total of 0 utility lands. All of the lands that you see are for the purposes of mana fixing, so the land base is a major weakness. Coastal Tower is a necessary evil, enters the battlefield tapped, is really rough, but to be fair, when curving out, you can usually find an acceptable spot to deploy this. We've got 4 Flooded Strand, 2 each of Plains and Islands, so we're really limited on basics. I have opted for some OG basics. They seem to suit the theme very nicely. We have lots of pain as well. We've got lack of utility, we've got still some inconsistency, and a lot of pain. 4 City of Brass, 4 Shivan Reef, and 2 Battlefield Forge for a total of 10 pain lands, in addition to the 1 life loss for fetching, but Reflecting Pool times 2 makes it all better. You feel big-brained when you've got City of Brass and Reflecting Pool, that little mini wombo combo for mana fixing painlessly in the form of pool. When that's online, that feels pretty good, not gonna lie. On to the spells, which are by far more interesting than the land base, and we begin with the only main deck spell that does not really fit the tap-out, can always be deployed Future Sight type of bill, and that is Swords to Plowshares. I've mentioned before on this channel how Plow is one of the main reasons to be in white. I've featured decks on this channel, actually, that splash white for the only main deck white card being Swords to Plowshares, so this being an exception to that rule should come as no surprise because it is simply that good. And to be fair, on stalled boards, if you have a Future Sight rolling, you can more likely than not, afford to plow one of your weenies, gain a little life along the way, and see a fresh card off the top. So even plow is not totally a reactive card in this particular deck, but everything else we're going to go over can be deployed proactively on future sight. You've got lightning bolt, of course, board control, finisher can just go to the face even when it's not close to being a finisher to see a fresh card off of future sight. You've got Mother of Runes, who is very, very powerful, and I might add feels 10 times better in Star-Spangled Slaughter than it does in the solution, because again, you are just tapping out that much more aggressively, you've got that much higher threat density, you've got a diversity of effects on legs, basically, and Mother of Runes' protection effect, just that much more relevant under these circumstances. Of course, Meddling Mage, locking out the opponent's most important spell and being protected by Mom, is a pretty obvious combination here that's present. And on top of that, all of this stuff, of course, can just be turned sideways to end the game if your opponent is stumbling and you don't need to play reactively with them. Silver Knight is a card I'd like to spend a minute here because I'm sure it is the best in class for a lot of metagames. I don't tend to play against as many red decks as average just in my own little play group, so this card has felt relatively underwhelming, even though I really want to like it, because it's a unique card, it's very cool, I love all knights basically, especially these ones with kind of the black knight, white knight style of templating. It just hasn't really impressed me, and as mentioned, the double white can be a surprising stumbling block in terms of wanting to curve out proactively. Moving on, Fire and Ice is one of the most flexible cards in the format, and in this deck, it is no exception. You can ice down a big blocker, you can ice down a land that produces a rare color, you can use Fire as a finisher. Again, you can fire both of these modes off proactively under Future Sight. You can use Fire as a combat trick, you can get 2-for-1 against elves, the list goes on and on and on. Seal of Cleansing, of course, is played over Disenchant or similar effects simply because you can deploy it under Future Sight even if there's no target for it at the moment, or even if you'd rather save it for a more optimal target and just keep churning along. At the top end of the threat suite, we have the Angel Squad. We have Lightning Angel ×4, Flying Vigilance, Haste 3/4, and Exalted Angel, which is one of the best cards in the deck on terms of raw power, because of course, not only is it very tough for the opponent to answer, it's gonna get you back a lot of those life points that you lost just casting your spells in the early game and weathering the opponent's barrage of attacks or burn or whatever it's gonna be. Also, being able to morph is absolutely huge in a deck like this. If you are especially a little bit shy on resources, you can just kind of roll the dice, play her out as a 2/2 for 3, plan to morph next turn, and if they can answer her before that, the game is probably over. Future Sight at the top end is only a 3 of because it's clunky early game, and unless it's getting answered by the opponent, you really only ever need 1. That said, it is kind of the linchpin card of the deck. Very, very powerful, and might I add, extremely cool, very fun, very rewarding when live. So I mentioned the tricolor build being a bit of a weakness in some ways, but it is absolutely a strength when it comes to the sideboard. Red, white, and blue, probably the 3 strongest sideboard colors in Premodern from my relatively new experience. It of course gives you access to the red and blue blasts and their equivalents. It of course gives you access to Seal of Cleansing 3 and 4, plus other powerful white effects. And special shout out here to the Dwarf Squad, supplementing the Angel Squad. We've got 2 Dwarven Miners and a Dwarven Blast Miner, giving us proactive, interesting dimensions on which to operate, and in some of my games these have actually been absolutely game-winning, repeatedly blowing up opponents' lands while playing off the top with Future Sight, burying them while accruing card advantage. It doesn't get much better than that. Well, thank you very much for watching, my friends. I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this 10-minute deck tech. This deck is very cool, it's very decent, but I have to be honest, I found it to be that little bit notch below other decks I've really thrived with, so your mileage may vary. Either way, it's a super spicy one, well worth knowing about, and who knows, maybe there's more to solve in this archetype. But either way, thanks for watching.